Hi, hopefully I don't repeat myself too much for those of you who've been coming to other sessions of mine. I was just saying to Alison earlier that I changed this presentation quite significantly this week because I figured you're probably all getting sick of hearing the same stuff over and over again. So hopefully I can not go on too long. So, couple of little housekeeping things. I am going to be watching the chat. So if you guys could keep the chit chat down and save it for questions while I'm doing the presentation, that would be awesome, because that way I can make sure that I can see everyone's questions. There's quite a lot of people in this session, so I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. And I will pause from time to time and just have a little look at the questions, and then of course at the end I'll go back and I'll make sure that I've hopefully covered as much as I can in 1 hour. It's not very long, but anyway, we'll see how I go. So, hi. Tonight I'm going to be talking mostly about Instagram and Facebook. Just with the time period, it's just impossible to talk about all of the things. So I'm going to be looking at and just running you through some ways that you might want to do things a little bit differently. If there's any absolute beginners in the group, I'm sorry, I might lose you a little bit, but I'm happy to sort of connect with you after this. I've aimed this session at people who are already using, Facebook and Instagram for business, and hopefully I'll be able to teach you a few things or just give you a few tips to get you moving and get out of this COVID slump that we're all in. All right, so I'm not going to talk about all these things tonight, mostly. But what I wanted to just impress upon you is that, Facebook and Instagram are not just social networking, social media tools. They're marketing tools, and more often than not, they're the most public face that your business has. So it's really important that you give it that sort of gravity. This is important stuff here, and so here's 10 things that I think that you could do now that would really kind of uplift, elevate, change the way that you do things and make your social media a little bit more professional. I'm going to give you these slides somehow. I'll get them to Latrobe City somehow, so you'll get them. So 10 things you can do right now. Understand your why. I'm definitely going to talk about that next. Get to know your audience. Add some strategy and planning into the mix. If you don't plan, if you don't actually have a strategy, it doesn't have to be overcomplicated, but you do need to kind of have some direction. Create, join, and prolong conversations. Conversations are absolutely key. Social media sounds like it's a broadcasting tool, but it's not. It's social networking. It always has been, and it probably always will be. So when you think about that in the context of networking, it's really important to be having conversations with people. I think you can create better content. Understanding and working with the algorithms is something I am going to talk about tonight because it's really important. Paying attention to your insights. You have these incredible insights that a lot of people don't take the time to look at or don't understand and don't really know how to use them. Collaborating is one way. I think there's people joining us from all over the place here, but because we're located in Gippsland, I'm mostly going to be talking about Gippsland, and collaboration across Gippsland in your region, in your town, in your kind of area is really important. Paid advertising is important. Not all of you will have budgets yet, but paid advertising is something that is becoming more and more important, rather than spinning your wheels trying to kind of push your business forward. There are some really cost-effective, really excellent ways that you can use paid advertising. And number 10, add value to your audience. Never forget to add value to your audience, because social media, whilst you're using it as a marketing tool, you should never really think about it as always, this is me, this is what I want to tell you, this is important, this is our sale, this is our product, this is our whatever it is. You really should be thinking about it more as, what do you want to hear from me? You know, you're my audience. Teach me, tell me, how do you want to work with me? Which of my products do you like? How do I get you to go to my website? You know, all of these things you can do by just adding some value to people's Facebook and Instagram feeds. So to start with, I want to talk a little bit about your why. And I want you to go home, or you're probably actually at home, but I want you to sit down and I want you to think about your why. Why are you using social media for your business? And if you can't answer that, then you need to create a why. Because if you don't really understand the direction that you're going and you don't know why you're using it, then you're probably not using it as well as you could be. So don't focus too much on, you know, what am I doing? How am I doing it? What am I using? Do I have the right tools? You know, do I need a microphone? Do I need a laptop? All of these things will come. But if you don't know why you're doing it, then it doesn't really matter how you're doing it. So I've put a little list in here. It's not a full list. It's just some ideas of some whys, because I think that understanding why you're using it will help you to put together, even if it's a loose little strategy, it will help you to develop some goals and objectives. And it will also help you to decide what channels you want to use. You don't have to be everywhere. You just have to be where your audience is, and you have to be doing whatever's comfortable for you. If you're spread too thin, that's when things start to get a little bit shaky. So some ideas of your why might be to increase visibility, to promote your products and services. You know, you might be using these channels to drive website sales, and that's all. Some people are from, you know, not-for-profits and health organizations, and you're using these channels to deliver information, to develop community, to create trust. All of you should be using these channels to strengthen and develop your relationships and networks, to drive engagement, and you should be trying to grow these channels. The more that you grow, without focusing too much on the numbers, the more that you grow, the more access you have to your audience. You might be using it to demonstrate expertise and thought leadership. And like I said before, you should always be adding value. And some people will be using it, if you're a larger employer, for employer branding or personal branding, particularly if you are a service, like a business to business organization. When you're thinking about your why, I don't want you to go, well, everybody else is doing it, so I should be. And I hear that a lot. A lot of people say, I say, why are you even on Instagram? And they'll say, oh, because everybody tells me that's where I should be. But if you're on Instagram and your brand or your products or your services aren't suited to that space, and you don't have the skills and you're doing it badly, then because everyone else is definitely not the right reason. So you need to prioritize. You can't be everywhere at once. So I just highlighted a few that I want to talk about tonight: increasing visibility, promoting your products and services, driving engagement and growth, and adding value to your clients, customers, community. When you know what you're doing, when you know your why, when you understand the who, that's when you can start to think about what channels you're using. So increasing your visibility, obviously Facebook and Instagram are both incredible tools. Promoting your products and services, you might want to add in Facebook Ads Manager, because advertising is the most effective way to drive sales. If you want to increase your engagement and you want to grow your audience, you might look at adding Messenger as well as advertising, as well as Facebook and Instagram. And if you want to add value, particularly if you're in a professional services, then you might want to add in some LinkedIn as well. And then obviously there's a whole bunch of other channels that you could absolutely be using to promote your business. So now I'm just going to talk a little bit about planning. I believe that creating some kind of a plan, some kind of a strategy is really important. But I understand that a lot of you won't have that time, particularly if you're a small business. If you already have a business plan, I hope you already have some kind of a business plan. I want you to pull it out, dust it off, and look at it from a different perspective. And look at it when you're looking at your social media. You can sit down and you can start to brainstorm ways that social media can help you to achieve your goals. So I've just put an example in here, which is, you know, if one of your business goals was to increase your online sales in a particular period of time, then you would look at social media to help you do that. You might decide that you want to drive website conversions because that's the most direct way for you to make sales of your product. And you might decide that you want to use paid ads. So as a way to kind of clip that social media strategy onto a business goal is to think about how you can use social media. One way to use, say, Facebook to achieve an online sales goal might be to say, okay, well, I want to increase my warm leads. I want to develop and grow an audience of people who know my product, who've heard of my product, who've had some contact with it, or who know people who have. You know, I want to increase my referrals. I want to increase my recommendations. And that's all organic. Once you create and once you develop a larger community of people who are sort of, I guess, warmed to your product, that's you can use your sort of organic posting for that purpose. Then you can repurpose that audience using some of the paid ad tools which are available, which I'm not going to talk about tonight. But just to tell you that they are available. You grow these audiences, you get this engagement, and then instead of just letting it sort of trickle away, what you can do is you can use that engagement, use those audiences to advertise directly to them or to retarget them when they come to your website. So there are ways to use social media, you know, very directly to affect your business goals. Other business goals that you might have might be just to increase your brand awareness. And social media is definitely a really good way to increase your brand awareness. And you don't necessarily have to pay for that. What you need to do is develop content that is designed to engage your audience, that is shareable, that is interesting and engaging and, you know, conversation worthy. And that will then drive brand awareness because you will use your existing audiences to push your message out there. If you don't have a business plan, that's totally fine, but you should still set yourself some realistic goals because otherwise you're just spinning your wheels in this space. And you know, social media is only as good as how you use it, really, or how you think about it. I think that, and I've put in here that a goal that you set yourself shouldn't be likes, like page likes, and it shouldn't be reach because they don't really give you any outcome other than just some numbers that might make you feel good. If you've already got social media channels that are going really well, then you know, now might be a really good time to just be a bit critical about how they're doing. Do you need them all? You know, are you currently spreading yourself really thin across Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, I don't know, TikTok, whatever? And are you just kind of scattergunning the same content across all of these channels? If you are, then, you know, you might want to ask yourself some questions. Are you doing them well? Do you have time to do them well? How could you do them better? And maybe even start to look around you and see who is doing it well. There's a question that's come in that I'll get to in a second. Another thing that you can look at is to actually think about your sales. You know, whatever sales mean to you, and try to work out what role social media played, and then which channel fed you the most sales or the most leads or the most connections, and then think about where you put the most energy. One really common thing that I see people doing is they have a really good opportunity with, say, Facebook. And, you know, if they looked at their Google Analytics or if they looked at their sales, they would see that most of the leads come from Facebook. But they put most of their energy into Instagram because they like it and because they get more likes. And what then tends to happen is they'll post onto Instagram and just push it through to Facebook. So the engagement on Facebook goes down, and then their leads start to go down, and then their sales pipeline goes down. So actually sitting back and critically looking at where your audience, or what audience has the most value for you, is a really good opportunity. So having a strategy and a content plan doesn't matter how small it is, doesn't matter how brief it is, as long as you've got some direction just to get you going and just to give you something to aim for. And the other thing that I've put on here is you know, if you're thinking about making some changes, now might be the time to be really honest with yourself and say, I'm no good at this. I don't have the time to do this. It's not a core business. It takes too much time. It takes too much of my energy. But it might be really important to you. So you might start to look around and see if somebody in the business or if somebody external to the business can actually help you to do it well. So Ben's asked in the chat, can the conversions not be done without using paid ads? Or is it a virtual requirement or algorithm related that conversions are done using paid advertising? I'm not entirely sure what you're asking, Ben, but you don't have to use paid ads, absolutely. You know, if you have an engaged audience, you can use that to promote products, and you can see you just can't track when they've actually made the sale or whether or not it's come from an ad. So no, you don't have to use paid ads, but if you want to reach your targets, sometimes it can really take a lot of the pressure off by actually using paid ads, and you'll find that it's a lot cheaper than using, you know, a lot of other traditional media. All right, I'm going to talk really quickly about the algorithms because I want you to understand that they're really critical to this process. Hopefully I won't lose you. All right, so Facebook. We all use Facebook, right? It comes in, we have a newsfeed. We know that there's an algorithm that determines what we see every time we go into Facebook. That algorithm, the best way to think about it is to think of it as artificial intelligence. Its goal is to work out what you like, work out what you're interested in, and show it to you in your newsfeed. The purpose of getting you to engage with that content and spend more time in Facebook. So it's like a little butler. It's bringing you the news. It's you know, showing you all of the things that you like to keep you in there longer, to keep you talking to people, to keep you spreading and sharing and doing all of these things. Now, obviously, the ultimate goal for Facebook then is to use that data to advertise to you, and that's how they make their money, and that's fine. But the way that the newsfeed algorithm works, in a nutshell, is really critical to how you should view the process that you're going through by posting. So for starters, if you've got 1,000 followers on Facebook, they're not always going to see your content. Just by having those followers there doesn't mean that every time you post, they're going to see it. That's really important to understand. The newsfeed algorithm chooses how many of those 1,000 followers are going to see your content when you post. So it's really important to work with the algorithm. The first thing that it's looking for is inventory. And so inventory refers to everything that you've ever done before. So all of your posts, all of the information in your profile, who you're connected to, who you talk about. You know, it's looking for keywords, it's looking for easy data. It looks at the type of posts that you do. Do you often do videos? Do you mostly do photos? And it takes all of that stuff into account, and it keeps like a running kind of relevance and ranking on the type of content that you do. So it wants to understand what you talk about. The second thing that it's looking at is signals. How do people respond to your content? Who responds to it? You know, what kind of responses are you getting? Are they valuable? Are they lots of shares? Are they lots of conversations? So it's looking at what you talk about, how people respond to your content. And from there, it's making a prediction. How many people from that original 1,000 people who have opted to follow you, will it send this content out to? It's going to send it out to people who it thinks are most likely to engage with the content. Sorry, I'm very croaky tonight. So let's say you post and Facebook makes this split decision. It makes that split decision because at the same time as all of this is happening, it's keeping like a running tally on you, a ranking and relevance score. Some people call it a cache or an index, whatever. What it's doing is it's shortcutting this decision-making process. So it's keeping all of this information on you. And so if your content hasn't been performing well in the past, consistently, you will have a low ranking and relevance score, and it will return to that, and it will not send your content out to many people. What you want to do is you want to increase that ranking and relevance score, that before anyone asks, no, you can't see it. So, and you do that by creating content that engages with your existing audience, because as soon as they see that post, so if Facebook decides that 180 people who follow you will be likely to engage, if and when they engage with that content, Facebook is able to zip in and have a look at who they are, what they're interested in, who they're connected to, and it can bounce off that. So if I stop and comment on a post that you've that's come into my newsfeed, Facebook's algorithm looks at me. It looks at my followers. Who am I connected to? What do I like? Why have I commented on this? Who else might be interested? And it starts to sort of feed that out to people in that way that it does. Erica McInerney commented on blah blah's post. And then you start to create this little bubble of reach around each of these people. It's really important because the engagement that you get as early as possible on your post is the thing that keeps the algorithm interested in your post. If you don't get engagement on your post, the algorithm will simply just drop you and stop sending your post out to people. So you want to try to keep that going. Instagram's a little bit different. Instagram doesn't have, firstly, it doesn't have that way of kind of connecting through to other people's audiences. So if I comment on something, my followers aren't going to necessarily see that unless they go looking for it. So Instagram also doesn't take posts out of the newsfeed. Whereas in my Facebook newsfeed, if I flick past things, the algorithm takes it out and replaces it with something. So it's constantly changing and swapping that newsfeed. Whereas Instagram's feed is all there. It's just not in a chronological order. So it's ordered by interest, timeliness, and relationship. So if I am interested in that particular profile, and I often comment and I go to that profile and, you know, I've clearly shown that I'm interested in them, then they'll be ranked highly. By timeliness means if that profile or business has posted 4 times in the last week and I've only just popped into Instagram, it's going to show me the most recent post first. It's not going to show me the one from 4 days ago. But if I scroll back, I will see it in my newsfeed. And then it also looks at relationships. So, and relationships center around conversations, private messages. So building those relationships with your audience in Instagram is really important, and stories plays a really good role in that, because the only way for people to respond to a story is to open up a private message with you. And so having those connections, having those conversations with people are really important. Instagram also looks at your individual behaviors, so frequency of use, how many accounts you follow, and how often you spend in Instagram. So if I follow 4,000 accounts, but I only go into Instagram once a week, wouldn't that be amazing? The possibility of Instagram's algorithm actually showing me your content is pretty low, unless I have shown a really genuine interest. So I have really nutshelled that, but if you want to ask me any questions at the end, you can. So Ben's asked, what happens to your relevance score when someone reports a post as spam or similar? So when somebody reports you or gives you some negative feedback, such as hide this post, hide all posts, or if somebody unfollows you off the back of a post, that is a very clear signal too. So yeah, what that does to your ranking and relevance score, that's a bad signal. So it does definitely affect that. If it happens a lot, then it's definitely going to affect the way that the algorithm, I mean, if you're constantly being reported, or if people are often hiding your posts, then, or muting you, then yes, your ranking score will definitely be affected. So going back to inventory, one of the things that you can do right now is to really think about what you're feeding the algorithm. Have a look at your profile, have a look at your story, have a look at all of the places that you may not have yet filled out when you started these business pages. Put in your awards, put in all of your contact details, write a really good story that has lots of keywords and key search terms. How do you want people to find you? How do you think people are going to find you? And then think about, what all of the places that that you can be found. On Instagram, people can search. They can't search the captions yet, but they can search you by hashtag. They can search you by your name, and they can search you by the place that you put in your posts. So make sure you're using those functions. When I look at Instagram, if you can see mine up on there, I'm not, putting myself up as a beacon of everything good, but I do try. You can see that on Instagram, my handle is Mac_Ernie, but my name is Social Media Tips with Mac and Ernie. And the reason that I put that in there is that I think, well, if that's searchable, then I should put social media tips, because that's really what I use this account for. And then if people are looking for social media tips, then my account might pop up first. So be thinking about search. Facebook's search engine is the third most used search engine in the world. It is being used all the time. People are not kind of jumping out of the Facebook app to open up a Google app to search for a business. They're expecting you to be there. And so by really thinking about what you're writing and what you're giving these algorithms to go on, you'll find that your visibility increases massively. Connect everything. Make sure if you've got an online shop, make sure you set up your shopping tags, your Facebook catalog. Make sure if you've got if you've got online booking services, that you connect all of these things. If you don't offer people the most easy way to connect with you, then they just won't, because people are just inherently lazy. So just going back to keywords, have a think about search and how you might be found. Go into Facebook, noodle around, See what you can find. I did a search for best coffee in Gippsland, and you know, a post has come up from a land development that says, some say it's the best coffee in Gippsland. And the reason why that's at the top, because it uses that exact phrase. Then Foodie in the Valleys, the second one, that's from 2016, and that says, it's official, the best coffee in Gippsland has arrived. Again, they've used that exact phrase. So by using key search terms, by getting in the head of who's looking for you, you can put those phrases into your captions, and you can be found much easier. Sorry, just need water. And then it just goes down. Now we've got great coffee and so on and so forth. So by being really smart, you could own certain keyword searches by making sure that you use those keywords a lot, by having, you know, a whole list of search terms and keywords and things that you put into your captions. And I don't want you to talk like a robot or write like a robot, but I want you to think about that algorithm as your first hurdle in getting out to your audience. Is there a way of finding out what keywords people are searching for? A tool. You could use something like Google Trends. I don't think I put, let me see, I don't think I put a screen in here, no. You could use something like Google Trends, and the way you find that is to go into Google and type in Google Trends. And what Google Trends allows you to do is to break down by region, by, you know, what people are searching for in particular areas. So I just did one the other day actually for a client on diabetes. And I looked at what people were, what the trends were in searching for diabetes in Australia. And unsurprisingly, 1 and 2 were around coronavirus and diabetes. And so I said to them, well, you know, if you want to, if you want to get to people, this is what they're searching for. They want to know how coronavirus affects diabetes and so on and so forth. Joe's asked, how important is story in Facebook? I haven't used it much yet. I don't understand how it's different to making a post. Facebook stories. Okay. Stories are, I might talk about that at the end actually, if that's all right. Because I really want to talk about audience for a bit. I cannot stress this enough. Your audience is absolutely critical. Understanding your audience, getting in their head, making sure you're connecting with them, making sure you're creating content for them is absolutely critical to your success. You should be asking yourself, how can I be adding value to my audience while still promoting my business? I've put a photo up here of a girl taking a photo of food because, you know, if you're a cafe, actually it's not even when it comes to social media, when it comes to promoting your food, sometimes you really need to get in the head and say, this food tastes good, but how can I make it look good? How can I make it Instagrammable? And, you know, you would have seen all of these stupid trends that have come out of like black ice cream and those ridiculous milkshakes and, you know, all of those crazy trends that happen. Making coffee look beautiful means that when it sits down in front of someone, they don't just enjoy the coffee, they take a photo of the coffee. And if they take a photo of the coffee, they post it and they tag you and they tell people that you were there. And so understanding the way that your audience works and the things that are valuable to them is really, really important. So ways that you can understand and get to know your audience. You can check your insights. All of these channels have incredible insights. Facebook and Instagram have incredibly detailed insights. You can understand, you can get into you know, not only who's following you, but who's actually engaging with you. And sometimes those two things are quite different. You can see what country they're in, you can see what town they're in, the age group, you can, all of these things. Check out who's following you. When people are following you on Instagram, you know, consider, I don't know what you all do, but consider sending them a message. You know, you can usually tell when an account starts following you, if it's a legitimate account or if it's just a spammy account. And if it's legitimate, just from time to time, you might just want to send them a message and just say, hi, hey, thanks for following me. You know, if I can help you in any way, or, you know, are you interested in having a look at the product range, or blah, 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 or go and follow them and just say, oh, thanks for following me. I went and clicked on your profile and I really love the thing that you do, and start those conversations. Those conversations in Instagram, they do a whole bunch of things. They're a signal to the algorithm, but they also, that you have a relationship with that person, but they also endear people to you, and they connect people to you, and they make people less likely to kind of unfollow you a week later because you've had a chat. At the moment, with everything that you do, you know, I think empathy and understanding this situation that we're all in, that we're all coming out of, is really important. Faces, really important. Being relatable, being friendly, being open, being accessible, all of these things, you know, are incredibly important. And when I say empathy, I mean empathy. I don't mean sympathy, because I don't think at the moment there's much of a place for people to say, oh, poor me, my business is, you know, doing really badly, please buy my products because, you know, I'm really struggling. Because unfortunately, there's a lot of that going around. And so actually showing how your product can add value, or by, you know, maybe having a sale, or maybe having a special offer, that might be a better way to connect with people at the moment. So someone's asked me about hashtags on Facebook. So hashtags are absolutely vital on Instagram. On Facebook, they're not. And when you copy over a post from Instagram to Facebook, you quite often send a whole stack of hashtags over to that post as well. What Facebook has told us repeatedly is that that their community, the feedback that they get on posts is that people are less likely to interact with Facebook posts that have a stack of hashtags on them. So don't do that. Don't put a stack of hashtags on your Facebook post. One or two is okay. The way that the Facebook search engine works is people don't have to rely on hashtags because there's this amazing search engine. But more and more people are using hashtags to search. A stack of hashtags in your post puts people off on Facebook, sorry. It can also send people away, because when they click on it, they will actually leave and go and look at other content. But they can be really good if you choose one or two hashtags that you want to be found on. And so just consider that. You know, for me, for example, again, I might use social media tips, or if my post was about Facebook, I might use Facebook tips as a hashtag, but I certainly wouldn't put a whole stack of hashtags on a post in Facebook. Other places where you can get to know your audience is to actually look at the posts to see what's working. What is your audience like? You can look at other businesses, see what they're doing. You know, they don't have to be competitors. They could just be people with a similar audience. You know, working in these sort of regional areas, we have a lot of crossover. And so just getting a sense of where your audience is and what they're interested in is really important. You should always allow time in your posting schedule to interact. Just dumping and running, just dumping your post and leaving is not a good tactic, and you'll find that your engagement will drop. So even if you're scheduling your posts to go off at certain times, you really should try to be there before and after to engage with people in real time. If you post and then you don't respond to the comments, you know, until the next day, then you miss a lot of that kind of magic that happens on the post, and the algorithm may kind of get bored of you by the time you come back. You should always respond to comments that are general or directed at you, not the ones where it's someone tagging a friend and, you know, having a bit of chit chat. And you should also just experiment, see what your audience is up for with, you know, in terms of sales posts versus entertaining posts or informative posts. There's a lot of rules. I don't like rules, but some of the rules that people say work are the 80-20 rule, where it's, you know, 20% sales and 80% other. But I think you should take time to get to know your own audience. Ways that, you know, later on when you're thinking about planning content, you're thinking about developing content that's very audience focused. You can use this as a bit of an idea. You have your audience that you want to hit. So let's say it's, I don't know, pregnant mums. You know, you want to think about what they're interested in. Where are they on Facebook? What are they doing? What are they thinking? You know, what's going to, you know, what are they interested in? And then how can you add value or benefit to them? If you've targeted them, if you've decided that pregnant women are a target audience of yours, then you must be able to in some way add value to them. And that's where your content should be. Your content should derive directly from how you add value or of benefit to them. And you can do it in, you know, you can phrase things in certain ways so you can attract those people. So you could say, I don't know, I've gone down the line of pregnant women now, so I'll stick with it. But, you know, you might say, you might have a product, a nursery product, like a, I don't know, a cot. And, you know that most of the time when people buy their cot, it's for their first baby. And so you want to really hit those people who are pregnant for the first time with their first baby. And so you might use that as a lead in and just say, are you having your first baby? Are you pregnant with your first baby? And really looking forward to decorating the nursery. Well, you know, blah, blah, blah about the cot. And by putting that question in the headline, you're going to attract people who are pregnant with their first baby, who aren't pregnant with their third, or, you know, have a bunch of grown kids and have a hand-me-down cot. Hope that kind of makes sense there. Oh, nearly done. One of the easiest ways to increase your brand awareness and to increase your visibility in this space is to actually get out there and comment as your business, whether that's in Facebook or Instagram. Have a think about where your audience is, what are they looking at, what other Facebook pages are they interacting with, and then just, you know, spend some time, 10, 15 minutes a day, just going to those pages and commenting. And you don't, and I'm not suggesting that you sell your product in other people's comments because it's horrible. But what I'm saying is that you can support and you can help other businesses with engagement simply by going on and commenting in a natural way. So if it's a I live in Warragul, you know, I might do it by, if I wanted to attract an audience of people in Warragul, then I might look at one of the cafes here and I might just go and comment and say, that looks delicious. And I might just do that, you know, on a semi-regular basis. And people will start to see my business name pop up more and more and more in all of these places. And at some point they might be, you know, interested enough to go, what is this? What's this business? And click through and go and have a look. So one of the other things that I've put in here is just a bit of a checklist for your content. You know, I've talked you through how the algorithm works and why you need to feed it data in mostly word data. But I don't want you to feel like you have to write these huge essays, because you don't have to shove everything into every single post. You just need to have a regular schedule of inserting these keywords in, or these key phrases into your posts, so that the algorithm can retain that knowledge and learn and understand what it is that you talk about, but also so that your audience has the opportunity to find you through search or to engage with you. It's very hard to engage with a post that just has a couple of emojis and what do you think, or read this. You know, that it's very hard to engage with that. So don't forget to add things in there, like asking questions, or go here for further information, or you know, visit our website, tell a friend. You know, just find ways to actually start conversations with people. So I've put a little checklist in here of things that might help you when you're writing those posts, to just go back and go, well, who am I talking to? Which audience am I talking to? How am I adding value to them? What creative am I going to use that, you know, that's going to work with that particular audience? Do I need to put a call to action on here? You know, how do I, what hashtags am I going to use? What photo tags am I going to use? Just to make sure that you don't leave things off, because every single time you do a post that that doesn't kind of get engagement, and it could be for just silly reasons, it could be perfectly good content, but every time you put something out there that's at the wrong time or not the right message, you know, that adds to your ranking and relevance score. And it's really important to, if you want to be visible and you want to be seen, it's really important to work with those algorithms. So I've got a little list of some things that you might want to try. Mixing up your hashtags. If you're in the habit of using the same hashtags over and over again on Instagram, then I would say stop and try something new. Hashtags are a funny thing. They're a funny little beast, but you do need to have a good mix of hashtags. A good mix of hashtags might include, you know, the place that you are, if that's relevant. So, you know, the town, if you've got a shop, the region. You need to have a mix of product. So what's the post actually about? You know, if it's shoes, is it like winter boots, boot love, boot envy? I don't know. You know, so you've got place, you've got product, and then you might put some other ones in there. So if you're a shoe shop, then you know, an online shoe store, then you might put in some online, you know, shoe sale, online shoes, stuff like that. If you're a bricks and mortar store, then, you know, you might use some other hashtags, but just kind of mix them up and see what works for you, and go into your insights and have a look at what hashtags are working for you. Engage, comment. Can't stress that enough. You cannot just sit there and post and hope that people come and find you. You have to push. You have to go out there and you have to be visible. And you don't have to spend all day in these channels. You just have to set aside time every single day to just go out and spend a bit of time being you out there in the space. It's a good idea to encourage user-generated content. And what I mean by that is by creating opportunities for people to post. Like I said before, if you make coffee, making beautiful coffee, having gorgeous mugs, or, you know, making baby chinos that have a little pattern on them, encouraging people to want to take a photo of your product. Now, you can do that just by creating, you know, those circumstances, or you can do that by saying, you know, if you share, you'll get a free coffee, or, you know, use this tag to be featured. You know, you would have all seen that sort of mechanism. Mentioning other businesses, you can try. So, you know, if you're working with other businesses, other suppliers, try actually mentioning them in the posts. You can do that by using the @ symbol and sort of actually tagging them in the post. That can be really important. It can also be the thing that gets you your first piece of engagement, because when you mention another business in a post, they get a notification that you've mentioned them, and they're going to come over and they're going to, you know, hopefully like and hopefully comment. And it also tells the algorithm that you are talking about this business, that this business is connected with you in some way. So then it can look at your audience and see if there's any cross connections there. Definitely collaborate with others, you know, towards a common goal. Try connecting with influencers if you think it's going to help your business. That's probably a conversation for a whole nother day. Use your insights to track the best times to post. I don't know what the best time to post is. No one does. You have a very unique audience, but there are some key periods of time when people are in these channels. And one of those times is between 8 and 10 at night. When people are spending more time on Facebook or more time on Instagram, you know, they're flick, 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 flick. The algorithms are working a lot harder to populate that news feed and to keep their interest and to make them stop and engage and comment. So by posting, you know, you might find that posting at 6:45 or 7 o'clock at night will pull you into that period of high use because it's a timely post, because this algorithm's going, hey, Erica, what about this? What about that? Oh, here's something new. What about this? And so sometimes you can really sort of force yourself into that period of time. The other good thing about posting towards a heavy usage period means that when people are commenting and engaging with your posts, often their friends and family will get those notifications in real time. And that's when you get those really great conversations that happen in your posts. So if I comment and tag my sister and she comes over and comments back, then her friends are going to see it and my friends are going to see it and our mutual friends are all going to see it. And everybody starts to pile onto your post because we're all on there at the same time. Whereas doing something like that at 9 o'clock in the morning might not work for you because, you know, we're popping in and out of Facebook or Instagram during the day and we're not really looking at all of our notifications. So you can use your insights to see when the best times are for you to post. But you also have to think about when it's appropriate and when it's easy for you to post. So, you know, you might think that the best time for you to post is 2 o'clock in the morning, which is great, but you're not going to be there to engage and you're not going to be there to answer questions. So, you know, maybe that's not the best time to post. Try to initiate engagement, you know, use some of those tools that I told you about before. Up your stories frequency and share yours and others' posts into stories. So that's Instagram stories and Facebook stories. They're different places, but you can share from one into the other. Stories on Instagram are moving so quickly. There's so many people using them. There's so many people engaged with them. So understanding how they work and developing a bit of a strategy for using stories is really important. Facebook stories is not as popular, but Facebook wants it to be popular. So when you post into your Facebook stories as a public business page, Facebook is going to push that story out in the same way that it does your page, your feed content. And so what you'll find is that if you have a really good story or a really good run of stories, you might find that you have, you know, 100, 200 unique views of that story because Facebook is trying really hard to encourage people to use that mechanism. Some resources that I've put in here that might be of interest to you. Sorry, water. If you haven't already come across canva.com, it's a website, it's a fantastic website that has, you know, thousands and thousands of, you know, fantastic templates that you can use across all of your marketing, including your social media. So if you're not very creative or you don't have the budget for a graphic designer just yet, then I highly recommend that you go into Canva. If you do have a graphic designer, I get my graphic designers to create templates to be used in Canva because it's really accessible and it means that you don't have to wait you know, to get in line to get stuff done. Unsplash and Pexels are two really good free stock libraries. iStock is a really good stock library for video and photos, but you do have to pay, but it's not very expensive. Local photographers, graphic designers, they're great resources, really good skills, and often they're not as expensive as you might think. And if you budget for regular updates to your photos and things, it can make a huge difference to your business. A great resource is your phone. If you've got, if you're sporting an iPhone 5 or 6 or something, it might be time to upgrade to something that can take really good photos. The cameras in these phones are amazing, and coupled with an app like Snapseed, which is a Google app, you can actually create really good photos. Go to those special days of the year, do a content plan, have a think about what's coming up. Social media day is coming up next week, so I'll probably have to think of something to post on that day. But you need to keep track of these things so you're not caught off guard. Google Trends, I already told you about, is an amazing resource. And there's a pages to watch function in your Facebook. If you go to your overview tab of your insights, you can watch 5 pages, and I'm not suggesting that you stalk your competitors, but they're really good places to find content. So if you're a physiotherapist, for example, you might put the National Physiotherapy Association as a page to watch. You can click on that, you can see their best performing posts, and then you can make a judgment. If a post has performed really well for them, then perhaps you can share it into your feed and it will perform really well for you, because you've got a common audience and there's a post that you haven't had to create yourself. And then I've got down here Linktree, which is an Instagram an app. There's a few of them, but it allows you to convert your one link on Instagram to be more of just to be more effective. If you want to see what I mean, you can head to the link on my Instagram page. But it allows you to create almost like a landing page that can zoom people off here and there, so that when you're referring to things in your Instagram feed and you say link in profile, you don't have to just send people to your website and then they have to noodle around trying to find the thing. You can say book now via the link in my profile, and you will actually have a little book tab for that particular thing, and a link to your website, and a link to your Facebook page, and so on and so forth. And so I just want to end with a quote that from Craig Davis, he's an ad guy and he was talking about something else, but I think it's really important in this space, and that is we need to stop interrupting what people are interested in and be what people are interested in. And it's really a really good way of describing this, these social networks. When you pop into somebody's newsfeed, generally they're in there for personal use. Your post might pop up between your sister's new baby and some event that something's running, and people are in there using these channels to connect and to communicate, and so you don't want to be constantly interrupting them, because when you're constantly interrupting them, they're ignoring you, they're hiding you, they're unfollowing you. You want to be creating content that people go, oh, I like this page. They always have really good content. I want to read this. That headline appeals to me. That image appeals to me. That video sounds really interesting. I'm going to save that for later. And so if you start to think about your content as being valuable to your audience, then things will change and you will start to create better content, and better content is what makes these social networks work. And I am done. So I saw all these questions coming in. So Just bear with me for 2 seconds. I'm just going to go through here. So someone's asked, is there a way of finding out what keywords people are searching for? Oh no, I already did that one. What do I mean by photo tag? Okay, so in Instagram and in Facebook, you can actually tag other Instagram profiles in your photos. So when you upload the photo, there's it'll actually say in the, you'll go caption, place, and then it'll say tag others. So you can actually tag people. So for example, when I do posts that are tourism related, I might tag visit Gippsland or visit Baw Baw or visit Melbourne or whatever it is. And what I'm saying to them is, I've just taken a beautiful photo of I don't know, a beach. You might like to share it. You might be interested in it. It's in your region. There are online tag generators that claim to give lists of the most popular hashtags. Are they worth using? Popular hashtags are fraught because if a hashtag is really, really popular, then it means that more people are using it. It means that it becomes less effective. There's no point in using a hashtag like hashtag coffee, for example, because there's, I don't know, there's probably up to 1 billion posts on Instagram now that uses that hashtag coffee, which means that the very second you post, maybe a few thousand other posts are just going to overshadow you, so you'll never be found on that hashtag. I think that you should, I don't know what your business is it? Oh, Guide to Cardinia. Okay, so I don't think you should be too generic. I think you should be thinking, well, what am I here to do? What's my why? Who do I want to attract? What are they searching for? What are they interested in? What am I posting about? And they're the hashtags that you should be looking at. How do I add a shop to my Facebook? That's a long story, but best place to start is to go into your settings and go to your tabs, and you can actually add a shop depending on what sort of page you've got. And then what you need to do is you need to set up a Facebook catalog, which you can do through your ads manager and through Facebook for Business as well. I'm an admin on a couple of community pages as well as my business page. So it's really difficult to choose who I'm commenting as. Does the Pages Manager app help with this? Absolutely. If you're not using the Pages Manager app on your phone, go and get it. It's just search Pages Manager in your app store. And what it does is it just literally separates personal and business. It separates all your pages. Some phones don't allow you to swap between your personal and your business pages. There's usually a little drop down arrow, but I know I've seen some phones don't allow you to do that. So you might just need to find a workaround. Okay, what video capabilities do you recommend? Joy, I'm not really sure how to answer that. There are a lot of different sort of video apps and things, but it really depends on what you're doing. Yeah, I'm happy to have a chat offline about that, but it really depends on what sort of video you want to make. All right, so are there stats or recommendations that suggest how active you should be as a small business? Should we be posting every day, twice a day, or post every second day? Okay. There are a lot of people who will tell you that they have the answer to this. I don't like to make stuff up, so I will say there are no there's no hard and fast rules. Everybody has a unique audience, and you actually just need to do the work. You need to work out, firstly, really important, how often can you post? How often can you post good content? If you can't do that every day, then don't do it. Don't just say, I'm going to post every day and just slap up anything, because that's not good. So how often, like, what resources do you have? How often can you post? How often can you post really good content? And if that's 3 times a week, then do it 3 times a week, and just do it consistently. This idea that used to be around, that posting multiple times a day on Instagram and Facebook, that was the thing that everybody did. That doesn't work anymore. And the algorithms are really, really, really smart. And so if you're posting, like, I was doing an audit the other day, and someone had posted 45 times in one day. My God, I couldn't believe it. But yeah, what these algorithms will do is they just stop sending stuff out, because if you're posting over the top of yourself, they're like, oh, here's something new, drop that one, pick up this one. Oh, an hour later, they haven't even found people to send it out to. Nobody's even had a chance to engage with it. You post on the top of it, chucks that away. And so what you're going to see is this constantly failing posts, and this algorithm that you are kind of confusing, I guess. So yeah, look, I mean, Michelle, I don't know how big your audience is. The bigger the audience, the more you can post without being excessive or annoying. If you have 10,000 followers, 20,000 followers or something like that, then the algorithm's got more people to send it to. If you've got 250 followers and you're posting multiple times a day, you're probably going to annoy them. Do I use my phone for video? Sometimes I use my phone for video a lot. I use an iPhone with a attached microphone and a gimbal, which stops it from shaking, or a what's it called, tripod. And the thing about video is, sorry, very croaky. The thing about video on these channels is that it's okay to use your phone. People expect it. Now, if you were creating super, high-end professional videos, then look, maybe not. You might want to get a professional to do it. But just for general day-to-day, or if you're talking to camera, or if you're showing people around, or if you're doing a live, your phone, if it's a decent phone, should be enough. There are a lot of post-editing tools that you can use to add on captions, to lighten it up, to add filters. There's a lot of things that you can do with your phone these days. And to be honest, people just generally don't care. As long as they can understand you, and as long as it's relevant and interesting, they're not going to be going, oh, that looks like it was shot on a phone. It really just comes down to, how good is the video, not how good is the video quality. I can't see any other questions in here. Yeah, I think that might be it. Thanks everyone for coming. Who said thank you? There's lots of, there's another familiar name in there. But yeah, I think that's me.
Great. Thanks, Erica. We really appreciate the time that you have taken tonight to host today's webinar. You're so knowledgeable on the topic of social media, and I know I found it really informative, and I hope everyone else did too. So once again, thank you for the effort that you've put in preparing the slides for tonight. For all of our attendees, I hope you found that really beneficial. We are hosting another webinar on Thursday, and the topic of that one is how to get the most out of LinkedIn for businesses. So if that's something of interest to you, please jump onto Eventbrite and register to attend that one. Otherwise, we hope everyone has a lovely evening. Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.